Before you begin this first chapter of my book, The Regimental History of the First New York Dragoons, allow me a moment to explain what lies ahead and why it matters. Chapter 1 is not about battles, it is about beginnings. It tells how a regiment comes into being, not on a battlefield, but in towns and villages, in armories and meeting halls, where ordinary men answered an extraordinary call. The First New York Dragoons began their service not as cavalry but as infantry, the 130th New York State Volunteer Infantry, an understanding that origin is essential to understanding everything that follows. In these opening pages, I sought to record more than dates and designations. I wanted to preserve the spirit of those early months, the enthusiasm, the uncertainty, the rapid transformation from citizen to soldier. Men arrived with little more than resolve and a sense of duty. They learned discipline, endured hardship, and began to discover one another's strengths and weaknesses long before they ever faced the enemy. This chapter also establishes something else that will remain constant throughout this history, the character of the regiment. From the outset, these men were tested not by glory, but by patience. Drill without distinction, camp life without comfort, and the long waiting that precedes real service. It was in those conditions that leadership began to reveal itself, and reputations, earned or unearned, took shape. You will meet officers who would later be tried under fire, and enlisted men whose names may never appear in official reports, yet whose endurance carried the regiment forward. You will see how organization, discipline, and morale were forged before the sound of a single hostile gun was heard. This is the foundation upon which all later actions rest. I have written this chapter with care because memory has a way of rushing past beginnings in its haste to reach great events. But no regiment can be understood apart from its origin. What the First New York Dragoons became later, in battle, in sacrifice, in reputation, was shaped decisively by how it began. As you listen, I ask you to remember that these were not abstractions. They were men standing at the threshold of history, unaware of what awaited them, yet willing to go forward all the same. Chapter 1 is their doorway into the war, and now it is yours. More than a century and a half has passed since those first steps were taken in 1862, yet the distance between then and now is not measured in years alone. It is measured in memory, carried forward each time their story is read, and made present again in every generation willing to listen. I remain, your obedient servant, Reverend James R. Bowen.